Hello guys, how's it going? Hope you all enjoyed our course so far and also furnished your model completely. As you can see, this is my furnished model. You can set your furniture exactly like this, or you can do it basically based on your own tastes. What I wanted was some sort of a startup office design, you can say. For example, we got these work desks or these flower boxes, and next to the flower boxes, we got these green walls. Then there's a smaller, or you can say more private office here. And we got the social zone. And on this side, we have another work desk, as you can see. And there's this equipment, the same wall as before. And at the end of the room, we got this resting area containing, for example, this coffee machine, this drawer, and also this TV. Now, remember guys, this whole furnishing process is quite easy, just needs a bit of patience. Take a look at the plants. We have different types, some of them are rotated. We somehow try to create some sort of a diversity here. And by the way, sometimes we might face a colliding situation like this. To solve such problems, you can, for example, rotate your families a little bit, or you can choose your rendering angle in a way that none of these visual mistakes would be displayed. Now guys, what we are going to discuss in this session would be the material. Oh, and by the way guys, I'm recording this session for the second time. I actually wasn't really happy with the whole thing first time around, so I removed all the material and I'm doing this again. Now guys, usually for the materials that aren't my main or first priority, I just use the pre-made materials that I got in Enscape. However, I download the ones that are more important, for example, from this website, Ambient CG. Yeah, basically you can just download the ones that you want quite easily. The materials that you want. You can set them in different categories. You can create an archive to, for example, use them in other projects or actually later on in future projects. Now, to give you an example, let's say I need a concrete material such as this for the floor, or this one for the walls, let's say. Now, as I said, I already downloaded several materials, several types before, and let's just see how we can work with them. Now, first and foremost, guys, all the walls that we got in this whole model are concrete walls. Now, this is quite of an old building, so we might be working with a concrete wall or even a brick wall. You know what, let me just open up this brick category here. These types of bricks could work pretty well for old-fashioned buildings, more specifically, for example, this one. Like we got quite of a solid color, or any other type that you find more suitable and fitting. Basically something that could bring up that old-fashioned feeling. Now, let me go back to Revit again, select the wall, and because I want to see a consistent material throughout the whole wall, I'm going to create a new layer, a new material layer for the whole wall. So, rename, let's go with O1 for example. This way I can find it more easily in my Enscape editor. And then, for the rest of the name, I'm going to continue with wall main. Okay? Then, let's also select a specific color for our wall. This would be our main wall color, okay? So guys, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that we need to use a specific material for our main walls in a model. Let me just enlarge this for a second. And also we can use the same material for our flower boxes, for example, in order to have a consistent material throughout the model. So we can get that we have both main walls and flower boxes, alright? Now, we have specified our wall material up to this point. Now, let's go back to Enscape, open up Material Editor. Alright, now select the main wall, then from Albedo here. Then from Maps, let's select one of these colors, and it'll be set on the walls. And as you can see guys, in some areas we actually have some artificial lights set on the wall. Oh, by the way, set a door somewhere here on your wall as your main entrance. As I was saying, use these artificial lights and also a night view for testing your color. It's going to be better. Like, for example, let's set this on 3x3. Okay, this is good. Then from bumps, I would actually find a variety of maps, as you can see. For example, we can use AO here or ambient occlusion, or we can go with displacement. And I'm just going to go with AO here because, well, as you can see on the wall, we have some gaps or crevices, you can say. And as a result, by controlling the bump here, we'll get a very good quality. And by the way, for the bump, we can go with something in between, well, 1 to 1.5 maybe. And then for the reflection, we can use, for example, the roughness map here. I mean, again, as you can see, it works pretty well here. And furthermore, if I reduce the specular, I would add a translucency kind of effect to the whole lighting here. And obviously, by increasing it, we are increasing the intensity of the lighting. And well, the thing is, because we don't have a lot of brightness in our interior space, I actually recommend increasing the whole specular all the way to the end. And if you wanted to add more relucency, you can say, you can open up the texture here and then reduce the brightness all the way to the point that you'll get the exact amount of relucency and brightness that you want. Like, to be honest, this works actually. Yeah, we have a good amount of light reflection here. And you know what? Let's go one step further. Let's try to make everything more realistic. How? Let's reduce the bump here a little bit. See? And also we have image fade up here. By controlling this, we can in fact control the color texture, alright? Like, we can easily get a brighter or, well, darker color here. You know what? Let me reduce this a little bit because, well, everything was too dark. And honestly, guys, this is actually very nice. I mean, yeah, we don't really need any other thing here. Everything worked out pretty well and there's no problem. Now, guys, without any further ado, let's just jump right into our floor material discussion. Alright, let's see how we can start our work. So again, first off, from Manage, let's try creating a new material. Again, O1. This time, floor main. Remember, guys, we actually need multiple materials for the floor. Okay, and okay. Now, oh, I forgot. We actually need to select a particular color for our material as well. Let's see, a color such as this, for example, to make everything more distinguishable. Okay, now on the keyboard, press P and T, select main floor for this, then entering Enscape. Now, what I need for this area is some sort of a concrete material. I mean, something like that has been polished using a trowel, and they would sometimes be covered with an epoxy layer as well. Now, we have a couple of options. If we go with this one, as you can see, the color is too bright. Now, I've also selected another concrete material, which would be this one, Concrete 034. And as I said, I downloaded this before, so let's just find it in here. It's up here, okay? Now let's enlarge the size first a bit, like 2 by 2. By the way, guys, do not increase the size too much because it reduces the quality and your map would become unrealistic. Now, in the next step, we can use its own roughness to add a bit of reflection. Increase the specular and also reduce the brightness. I mean, just enough to add some sort of a light effect, just as you can see. And we can say that the darker this gets, the more reflection we have. And now, guys, let's try adding a little bit of bump. I mean, something quite small. Like, I can actually use the displacement map. Just set the type and bump. Otherwise, displacement would actually ruin your flow. And it doesn't really matter how much you try to, well, control this. Everything would be messed up. So yeah, guys, just go with bump here, and then through controlling the amount, you can in fact, well, control the intensity, you can say. And by the way, as you can see, I'm going with 0.15 here, which is not something, well, too strong or sharp. And by the way, guys, if your map pattern was too visible, you can always go with another one, like something with a larger pattern, or you can change the size from here, like increasing the height. I mean, this way your map pattern won't be that visible anymore. And also, guys, I actually want a darker color for the floor. Now, to prevent repeating the map pattern over and over again here, I'm going to go ahead and reduce the image fade a bit. And then I can add this background color, like a gray color maybe. Or let me see. We might even be able to go darker. Let's see. For example, let's go with black. Yeah, actually, black works. Yeah, this is good. I mean, overall, we actually got a good combination here. There's this floor, and it has this dark color with enough reflection. Now, in the next step, guys, we need some colored lines on the floor. Well, we can somehow call them stripes too. Like the same material, but different color. Let's see how we can set these. So, back to the Revit. By the way, we actually need to separate this area. As you can see, we have some reference lines here. We can use some of them for separating the zone, some of them for setting the lights. Now, from Modify, I'm going to select Split Face. I want to split this face here. Now, regarding those colored lines, we want them, for example, in this zone. And then another one up here, I mean, starting from the base of this door, I mean, the glass partitions door, to all the way down here. And then maybe several additional lines behind the flower boxes. Okay, good. And another one down here in the corner, okay? And we're gonna work on their size, so don't worry about that. This should be attached to this wall, say 7T, for example. Alright, and the same goes here. And, well, this is already 70. Alright, and then for this one, let's move this one a bit more forward, like 90. Now that we have our sketches, let's start splitting these. Basically, you are quite familiar with the whole process. Just get rid of all the extra lines. Okay, split. Trim here. And yeah, that would be it. Here we go. Now guys, we are not allowed to finish this yet because we have in fact created two separated paths, or well, we can say closed down boundaries. So yeah, we cannot finish this yet. So what we should do? Well, we can do something outside our main boundary to attach all of these. I mean, more precisely, we can set these here. Well, maybe a bit more inwards actually, to somehow display their collision a little bit less. Now we have a one component closed down boundary which we can use for obtaining the material here. Now, finish. However, guys, when we do this, the material might still be removed. So, what we can do about this would be opening up the Manage tab, and we can get a duplicate of this main floor here. And I'm going to use this one. Duplicate material and assets. I mean, it would be exactly the same thing. So, floor. And there's some yellow because I want a yellow color here. So guys, we actually have the same settings here. First, I'm going to change up the color to that yellow that I wanted. And then I can change the settings as well. Starting by pressing PT. Then set your yellow floor as well as your main floor on your model. Let's see whether we got the main or not. Yeah, we got it. Now guys, I set some lines here with the same map placements. Why did I do this though? Well, because as I mentioned before, I want these lines to give this feeling that we are using the exact material as the floor, but different color. So, in fact, if I select yellow floor and then go ahead and select a yellow color, I would get this, exactly what I wanted. I mean, it's kind of like we have the same material everywhere, only different color. This is very professional, guys. Like you feel that there's no separated or different material anywhere. Now, let's give this a tint color. Here we go. Then after that, we can reduce image fade to get that exact yellow color that I wanted. And remember, guys, you can obviously select these colors based on your own ideas, your designs, your taste. Anyway, guys, this is what I wanted. As you can see, it's kind of like we have painted some parts of our floor with the same material, with a very simple technique. Now, guys, for this zone, I mean for the walls and the ceiling in this zone, we want to use this material. So, I'm going to pause Enscape for a second. Go back here and select the ceiling. I'm going to set the same materials as the walls for the ceiling as well. Okay. I think it worked. I mean, now we have the same material in the ceiling as well. Now, let me go back to the first level. What we need to do here would be splitting this wall from this point. And also, we need another one up here. We need to do this because this was a one component form, and because we want to shed another material here, we actually need to separate this. So, press PT again, then select the yellow floor for this part, Okay, this would be set in the back. It's not going to be visible though. Right, continue setting the materials and done. Now, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, here we go. See, there's this yellow color set throughout this entire zone. I mean, it's kind of like we have used the same material as before, just painted the walls with this yellow color. And yeah, in my opinion, this is actually well enough. Everything worked out pretty well. And we don't really need to do anything else here. Now, my current frame here is actually a squared one. I'm gonna go ahead and here, oh, by the way, these chairs here are for the Enscape itself. They are adjustable. You can go with any color that you want. Now, as I was saying here, I'm gonna increase the depth of field a little bit. And also the same goes for bloom. Oh, and also I'm gonna increase chromatic aberration all the way to the end to add a little bit of realism to my view. Right, lens flare is not that important here. And also let's make this a bit darker, contrast and auto. And I need to increase the exposure a little bit because this part is a little bit too dark, you can say, because of the density of our objects. Alright, good. Now let's go ahead and get our render now. Alright, remember that chromatic aberration that we activated? It added these lines, these bright lines on the edges of our objects, which made everything more realistic. And it's gonna work even better in the close-up views. Alright, now let's check the result. Yeah, everything actually worked out pretty well. In this session, we're going to continue our discussion regarding materials. I mean, we still need to set some additional materials, and there are some complementary points. Like, for example, one point would be regarding these tube lights. I mean, they have a body material, right? So here I'm going to search for damp proofing material. We have this in Revit, and there's this black color to it. But really, just don't mind the color here. Just use this because, well, it's not going to be that visible in your render. So if I set this black background here, the lights would be displayed even better. Now, as our next point, let's say, for example, for the floor of this resting zone and also the partition here, we want to use some sort of a carpet, like an office carpet. Now, the thing is I can choose split face here anymore. Why? Because if you remember, we couldn't choose a separate path. So instead, I'm going to set new floors on these zones. And also, carpets are not aligned with our current floors, okay? Now, I'm going to call this new floor of ours carpet. And immediately afterwards, let's specify its material. O1 carpet. Alright, now for its color, let's go with something like this, which would distinguish our carpet. Okay, now for the thickness, let's go with 0.5 cm. And the same goes for the offset. Alright, now I don't want to make this session too long, so let's just do the same thing for both zones. So I'm going to set something like this here for the partition. And then for the resting zone here, right from this edge, we can set our floor. Maybe move this a little bit. Okay, good. Finish. And now, as you can see, we have two separated floors for these zones. Let me just move this chair a little bit. I mean, just let me set them in a way that we won't be having any collisions. I mean, this design is quite common these days. Oh, take a look at these edges here. These should be aligned, actually. So let me just go back here and do exactly that. I mean, our boundary is better specified this way. Now, for their materials, I'm going to go with the pre-made materials that we have in Enscape. They would work pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Replace here. Then let's open up one of these categories, for example, fabric. And then in here, we would find several carpet materials that we can easily use in such areas. Let's check one, for example, this. See, it is set here quite nicely. This isn't what I want, though. I mean, I don't like the color, really. I mean, this was just an example. Let's try another one. Maybe this. We also can find some models in ambient CG. I'm going to select fabric again. And again, as you can see here, we also can find several materials that we can use as carpets. It's not really necessary though, like what we got in Enscape would be enough. And you can try another one, like a more colorful one. But I don't really prefer that. Let's try this one actually. Yeah, nice. How about this one? Or even this one. Yeah, this is actually very nice. We can easily go with it. And if you didn't like the color, we can change that too. I'm going to click on replace. Then first, let's increase the tile size a bit. Okay, it's too much. How about 1.5? Yeah, good. Now let's add a tint color. Maybe a bit brighter. Yeah, better. Yeah, now we can easily feel that these zones are quite different from other zones in this whole model, like the same goes for this partition. And by the way, guys, as you can see, the map works pretty well, so sometimes we don't really need to spend a lot of time while doing such things. Now, if I increase the intensity here, well, the texture would stand out even more. But the thing is, I like to do something else. I mean, I actually like to change the color, or actually get the color closer to something like yellowish color. Let's see. Yeah, this is good. Okay. Now, next point. Now, to separate, or, well, we can say to distinguish these zones, these separate zones even further, instead of these grid panels, we can use these yellow materials. I mean, it is kind of like we have set and also painted a false ceiling here. Now, back here, let's select these, then edit. Let's get a duplicate. For the name, I'm going to add yellow. Okay, then for the surface, I'm going to select the same yellow material. See, now we have a more distinguished and, well, different area. Now, in the next step, we can work on a material for these frames that we have around our boxes. So, I'm going to go back here, then manage, then again, give me a new material, 01 metal. We can basically use this material for all the metallic items that we got. And by the way, these would be the secondary materials. I mean, they might not be that visible. Okay, here, I'm going to select this, edit, and then for this frame material, select 01 metal. Okay, we have our material now. Let me just check something here. Let's see if we are still able to change the materials. I mean, right now we have this. Let's check this yellow. Yeah, it changed. Now let's go with this metal one again. And honestly, sometimes we would face some bugs. All of these should turn blue. Let's see. Yeah, they did. It means that everything worked out. Now, if we check them here, you could see that the color is changed. Alright, now, here, I'm going to click on metal. By the way, guys, in ambient CG from metal category, you can find so many different items that you can use. For example, we can download this galvanized one, and we can use this for the ducts, and then we can use this one, for example, for the boxes. Alright, so let's go ahead and find it. Which one was it? I guess it's this one. Okay, metal 038. Yeah, this is it. Alright. Now, let's give it a bump. Now, we can go with either metalness map or displacement. But I'm just going to go with this one because, well, it's not that visible here. Now, we got too much intensity here, so let me reduce the amount. Then, let's give it a roughness. Again, guys, as you can see, some of these maps do not need any specific settings.
I mean, sure, they are pre-made, but, well, their quality is quite high. Right, the error that we might get is for the parameter, so don't really mind that. Okay, let me increase the metallic here. Not that much, though. The same goes for specular. And yeah, this is actually okay. Now, guys, for the window frames, and then for these beams, and also for the frames that we got in this partition, we're going to use the same metallic material. So let's pause Enscape. Then back here, edit. Then let's go ahead and open up type properties. Control C here. And then let's go back here. Okay. Now select this, and then for the window frames, select the metallic material. Alright. Now for the window, again, metal. Then we have these columns or beams. For their structural material, let's go with metal. Oh, and don't forget this secondary beam up here. Now let's save this once. And now all the metallic items have the same material. Okay, so let's click on resume and you would see this. Oh, I forgot this door. So select. And then for both its handle and its frame, set the same metallic material. Okay, good. Now guys, the next step is quite important. We need to work on our glass material. In Enscape, glass materials should have both good resolution as well as good reflection. I mean, honestly, we actually need exaggeration when we are specifying the reflection. Now, yeah, let's see how we can do this. As always, I'm going to pause Enscape. Oh, and we need to save this once. Now, as always, open up Manage tab. Search for glass. Now guys, you can't find the settings that you need for glass materials in Enscape editor, alright? So, what I can do here would be replacing the entire asset. Oh, and by the way, I have this default material in my favorite tab, which is not that big of a deal. So, when I got this, I'm going to hit OK. Alright, if we go back to Enscape now, you'd see that all the materials are replaced with this solid material. And now I can easily find the glass here. Now, let's set this on transmittance to create the glass, then reduce the roughness to increase the relucency, then increase the specular. Then by selecting a color, we can add a little bit of shadiness. And oh, we actually have a better reflection now. Then we can control the opacity. Let's see, to translucent, and yeah, this is better. Now refractive index, I'm going to set this in 2. Yeah, let's set this in 2. Then maybe let's increase the opacity a bit more to create a better reflection. And yeah, now we got very nice windows. And let's change this night view to something a bit more brighter, like an afternoon or something. Okay, this is better. Overall, guys, we have this very good reflection of our interior space in our windows now. If you wanted to complete this model further, we can, for example, add more light sources in this zone to add more brightness. Right, next items that we can work on regarding setting their materials are the beams. Now guys, remember, if you want the beams to be quite visible, you can use a bright material for them. Well, they are actually visible right now. But if you use that metallic material for them, because we don't have any lights up here, they won't be visible at all. Now, what I recommend here would be, you know what, let's put it in this way. People sometimes use this color, you can say this silverish color, which is not that neat. So you can use such color, or you can just leave them be. I mean, as I said, they are quite visible on their own right now. I mean, sometimes you might not have to change the materials at all, which is exactly the case here. I mean, I personally don't find it necessary to change the current material. Basically, guys, we have a good interior space now. I mean, all the main materials are set here quite properly. Oh, I want to write something down here. Forgot about that. Yeah, let's do that, actually. So, entering the first level. Then I'm going to select text model. Let's type down social area. Okay, now let's set it here. Now, obviously, we need to reduce its size. For example, let's try 55. Well, yeah, not bad, good. Right, now let's just move this a bit more upwards. All right, good. Now, we still need to do more. I guess we need to specify a depth for this. Before that, let me specify the same material as before, that yellow material. Guys, if we go with a small depth, as you can see, it's not going to work well. What we need to do here is to somehow cut this out of our flow, which is quite easy actually. So, double click on the flow here, then we need pick line, press tab to select the object entirely like this. Okay, and when we cut the objects out of our flow, obviously we're not going to have any further collisions and we can move on without any problems. Okay. All right, finish. See, now it is set in our flow correctly. And by the way, guys, once again, it's kind of like the material is the same and we have painted this whole text with another color. And if you still want to do more here, you can, for example, change up the font to anything that you want. But I don't find it necessary to do so. And obviously, you can add more text. Like, for example, you can type down resting area in this down. But yeah, this'll do for me. Instead, let me just work on this material a little bit further. What I mean here is that because I said that it's kind of like we have painted this part, I'm gonna reduce the relucency here a little bit. And also reduce the image fade. And maybe change the color here to something brighter, like something like white maybe. I think it's gonna be better. I mean, this yellow color is kind of bugging me. So let me try to adjust this a little bit. Then let's make this color a little bit warmer. Then, you know what, let's change this back to white. And yeah, I guess this is actually nice. Yeah, you can see it's kind of like an off-white color here. But again, basically, this whole coloring thing is quite optional. And by the way, you can even add more colors to these parts. Okay guys, in this session we'll be working on some other secondary materials, maybe like 2 or 3 of them. I mean, for example, talking about the wall sweeps that we have on the edges of our flower boxes. Now, if you remember in our previous session, we created this metallic material, which we can use here for the flower boxes again. The name was O1 Metal. Here we go. Okay, and now we have the same material on the edges of our flower boxes. Alright, next up we have these garden beds. As you can see, I filled them up using extrusion and a modeling place. But what if they were more visible in our render? So, we should do something about them. Okay, let us select them. Again, I just use simple extrusions for all of them. Now, let's give them a material here. Rename. O1 flower box soil, for example. Alright, now as always, let's give this a color, a specific color. Guys, we specify these colors because we want to be able to know which layer exactly we are working with in another, for example, rendering motor. Anyway guys, just wait for it to be done. It might take a few seconds because our file is getting heavier and heavier each step by setting the materials. And also guys, for this material, I actually prefer using the pre-made items that we have in Enscape. So, in here, I'm going to do a right click. Then I'm going to open up this ground category. And well, as always, we have several good items here that we can use. Let's say, for example, the sand material. Well, honestly, I don't think these plants could actually grow in sand. So let's try another material instead. Maybe another type of sand, actually, like this one, sand 2. Yeah, this could work. I mean, we have a good color. Also, we got a good displacement here. We can change the color to something darker even. Let's see. Maybe this. And then let's increase the displacement. And here we go. Now our garden beds are filled up, and this is more realistic. Alright, now the last material that we want to work on today would be for these vent system, for the ducts actually. Now, if you remember, we use fabrications for setting them in the first place. And when we do this, when we use fabrications for setting the families, by default, we won't be having any material changing parameter. Okay, VG, I'm going to go ahead and hide my light sources just for now. Okay, take a look at the properties window. We have nothing. There's absolutely no parameter here that could be used to control the materials. So what should we do about this? Well, let's see. From Manage, I'm going to select Object Styles. Now, I'm going to set this on Mechanical. When I do this, I would find several ducts here, and I can actually create a material for them. Again, I can go here, Rename. Okay, I accidentally closed it down. Let's do it again. A1 duct. Now, for the color, I'm going to go with a red one. And then let's see which parameter here is the same as the one that we have worked with. Oh, actually, this is duct work. Yeah, I think I made a mistake. Back here, if we truly have no problems, these should all turn red. Otherwise, we have selected the material wrong. So what I can do here is copying this, Control-C. Okay, fabrication hangers, ducts, then plumbing. And nothing for HVAC. Okay, now let's see which item exactly got which material. Let me just do something real quick here from graphics. Select that red material. Now let's go back and check this. Yeah, we have the material now. Okay, back here again. Let's create a new material and see what's gonna happen. Okay, not all of them changed actually. Some of them are changed. We have these red materials, for example. However, like the pipes didn't change. It doesn't really matter because they aren't really that visible. However, for example, the supports got the material. Now, let me change these diffusers as well. Okay, we have this bug here. Let me close down Enscape once and reopen it again. Wait for it. Okay, so I reopened Enscape again, and now as you can see, all the materials are set in all the objects, and now we can change anything that we want to. Now, if you remember, previously we downloaded this material talking about that galvanized metal, which is this one, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, it is. Let's just see if we got anything better here. Okay, anyway, let's just go with it. And yeah, this is good. Now, if we actually reduce the image fade, it might be even better. Now we can give it this metallic effect, increase the specular, and also let's add a roughness. By the way, guys, usually a variety of colors is used for this in different projects. So, you can actually go with any color that you want. I prefer a little bit relucency in my color. In my opinion, this way it's more eye-catching. Okay, I'm going to reduce the metallic effect a bit. And again, because I said I want this reflection, this relucency, I'm not going to add any bumps. And to be honest, one thing that I really like here is actually this pretty good light reflection. And if you wanted more translucency, you can increase the brightness here. So here, translucent, and again, reflective. As I said, this works for me. The color and all. Okay, moving on. Now, these pipes are not that important. Let's do something interesting using this material. I'm gonna get a duplicate of this. And for its name, I'm gonna go with ICPE. So, yeah, okay. The color is red. Don't worry, not important. Let's select these. And then in here, select ICPE for them. Now let's select these beams on the ceiling and give them the same material. Alright, let's go back to Enscape now. As you can see, by adding this ICPE material, now these are too dark. I mean, they are not quite visible. However, I just wanted this reflectiveness, and now I'm going to go ahead and reduce image fade again to make the color a little bit brighter. Also reduce metallic. Again, if we increase this, it's going to get darker and darker. Overall, we are trying to create this metallic effect here, which is quite visible, as you can see. Let me control image fade a bit more. Increasing specular. And maybe a little bit relucency. And in my opinion, now we got a very good metallic material. Let me go back here. You know what, let's make this a bit brighter because I actually prefer to see all of them from this distance as well. I mean, the background color was too dark, honestly. Oh, and by the way, guys, up here for the ceiling, I mean, under the ceiling we have this concrete layer. We can use the same material as the floor. I mean, you can go with the exact bright colored material here or something else. Though, I don't think we actually need anything else here. And it doesn't really matter which angle, everything seems fine. Well, maybe reduce the size here, like this O1 material that we got. Let's set it on 70 by 70. And then we actually need to minimize the cutout. Again, 70 by 70. And yeah, I guess this works better. And yeah, guys, that was it basically. I mean, we have all the materials that we needed, or in other words, all the objects, all the areas that we have in this model. Now they actually have their own specific material. Now, up to this point, guys, everything has been done quite well. I mean, I guess we don't need any further details for creating a good or high quality render. Just remember, guys, you actually need a perfect squared frame for such models. I mean, width and length should be the same one by one. And yeah, let's just create our render now. First and foremost, guys, we need a good camera angle. So, for example, I'm going to choose this angle. Yeah, that's good work. And by the way, when we have a squared frame, we actually need a more closed up field of view. For example, let me set this exactly here. Then I can use my mouse pan. Okay. Then up here, I'm going to activate 2-point perspective because we have many perpendicular and vertical lines. Then I'm going to close the field a bit more. And also for this specific render, I actually prefer having a bit more depth of field as well. Now this autofocus option would give us an automatic focus on a point. But well, specifying this focus point manually would work too. Now guys, when the camera is fixed, we can also control the lighting. For example, if I reduce the brightness, the colors here would turn dimmer. So we actually need enough brightness in our view so that all the details would be visible enough, you can say. Now, after doing this, we can go ahead and control the colors. For example, if we increase the intensity of our colors, everything would turn a little bit unrealistic, you know? So guys, I actually recommend reducing this intensity, more precisely the saturation. Like, let's go with 95. Then maybe increase the temperature. As you can see, this is quite realistic. Now, increase chromatic aberration all the way to the end. After that, control the bloom. Now guys, adding too much bloom here would give us too much light, too much brightness, too much, you can say, halo effect. I mean, we actually need this halo effect, for example, in these areas, but we need something acceptable. No more, no less. Alright, this is good. Let me just reduce the exposure a little bit. And overall, I believe that this could give us a pretty good render. Like, everything is quite visible, all the details on the ceiling or the lightings and everything. Now I guess if we reduce the depth here a little bit, these closer light sources would actually become less blurry. But, well, this is optional, you know. Okay, now let's get a render. 01. Always go with the names that you would easily remember. Oh, a point, guys. As you can see, we have a reflection of a chair in this monitor here. If you don't like this, if you don't want to have this reflection, when you set your camera angle, you can easily hide your family, your chair. But I don't really mind it. I mean, it has a good graphic and it adds more realism. And by the way, guys, the rendering process of this file might take a while because, well, it's actually quite of a heavy file. We have a lot of materials, a lot of light sources. Well, but if you are using an RTX graphic card, you might be able to do this, well, faster than me. I don't have it yet. Alright, anyway, this would be the first render that we have created based on this view. And when we compare this with the test render that we had before, I mean before setting the materials completely, you'd actually feel the difference that we have in the quality of these two. Okay, now let's go back. What I'm going to do now would be deactivating depth of field. And now let's try another camera angle. I mean maybe something like this. Let me close up the field. Alright, now let's use pan to move the camera a bit upwards to catch the light source up here completely. And yeah, this is good. Now guys, the thing is here we actually got a lot of light sources, so we can in fact reduce the exposure a bit to reduce the flare in our whole view, okay? Then again we can reactivate depth of field. And after that, maybe let's, let's manually specify a focal point. For example, somewhere on the flower boxes on the desk. And then let's reduce this a little bit to add a little bit blurriness. Okay, now for the color, let me reset this to check the main color. Or no, let's just reduce this. And then for the exposure, you can actually reduce this, but, well, do not make everything too dark or dim. Like, I guess for me, this would be enough. I mean, this green wall is completely visible. And the blue works too, maybe a bit less, like this. Okay, good enough. Let's get our second render now. Alright. So this would be our second render. The first one and the second one. Okay, now let's work on this on the social zone. I'm trying to get everything completely, but this equipment does not let us to cache this whole social area text completely. But I guess this would serve this purpose, so let's just go with it. By the way, guys, for this angle, I also activated two-pointed perspective. Now, we need to try to set this cubic area right in the center. Alright? Now, for the focal points, guys, I'm going to go ahead and choose, for example, somewhere on this corner, maybe. Okay, now the flower pot is more visible. Then we can increase the depth. I mean, to add a little bit of blurriness here. And guys, we actually have too much light exposure here because of the bright color on the walls and also the number of our light sources. So we can in fact reduce the exposure here a little bit. And this way we can actually create you can say, a cozier zone. Now, we can still go with this angle, or we can change it, for example, to this one. Oh yeah, this isn't bad either. Let me just increase the field a bit. And then maybe a small rotation. Like this. And maybe let's just increase the brightness a little bit because of this plant that we got here. By the way, guys, if you increase the depth of field too much, you would create, well, something like this deformity, you can say. So I'm going to go with this maybe. I mean, I simply don't want too much blurriness. Like, I want to see the details of the plants. And yeah, we can use this angle for our next render. Let me just increase the bloom a little bit. And then create render number 3. Alright, now let's check the renders. Render 03 here. And the previous renders. Okay, now let's go with another angle. Maybe this. Yeah, this could work. By the way, guys, go with this night view. If you go with a daylight, with a day view, because of the horizon line, let me show it to you actually. Yeah, because of this horizon line, this area would be completely black. Now, you can do some modeling work outside, but I don't really recommend it. And also, because we want to show the lighting system, the light sources that we set in our model, it's better to use a night view for our presentation. Now, first off, close down depth of field, and then move the camera angle downwards like this a bit. Okay, this isn't bad. Maybe just a little bit of rotation. Okay, I don't really need to show this area anymore. Okay, not bad. And by the way, guys, try to catch the objects and families that you want to show in your render completely. For example, this chair. You know, to be honest, guys, these small points could simply help you create a better render. Okay, next thing that I can do here would be controlling the depth of field on autofocus, though. I mean, let's see what's going to happen if we reduce it. Like, for example, for this area here. I guess it's too much, though. So, auto does not work here, really. So, I'm going to set this manually on, for example, this green wall here. And I want the blurriness back there. Now, let's increase the depth of field. Yeah, this is good, actually. Then, maybe, just maybe, a little bit more exposure here. And also, let's increase the temperature. What if I reset this? No, this isn't good, actually. So, yeah, let's increase the temperature. Reset again. And let's reduce this from here. And then again, increase the temperature a little bit to make the colors more realistic. And I guess we can even reduce the exposure a bit more. Okay, we have a pretty good angle here, and the light sources are set here quite nicely. Let's go ahead and create our render now. Okay, this would be our render number 4. And yeah, as you can see, everything is quite perfect. I mean, yeah, you might not even believe this, but we just use Revit and Enscape for creating this. And to be honest, guys, one thing that adds more quality to this whole thing is actually the amount of details that we have worked on in this whole model. Oh, and by the way, guys, don't forget this partition here, this smaller room for presenting this. This is actually very nice because of the window that we got here. And, well, also because of the details that we got on the ceiling. And overall, if we add more field here, let me try to specify the best camera angle that I can get here. This isn't bad. Then we can work on presenting this zone, maybe less exposure. You know what, guys, I'm not going to get a render here. If you want to, try to work more on the design and furniture. It feels a bit empty right now. Instead, let me find another angle for our next render. For example, maybe this isn't bad, I guess. And maybe with a little bit of rotation, this is better, I guess. Yeah, this could work as our next angle for our render. I'm gonna set the depth on, well, this area and maybe increase it. And then we can create the render. Again, guys, it doesn't really matter which angle you exactly choose because you have a good model. You have created a good model. You have a lot of details here. You'll get a good render. For example, I can easily get one here. But guys, anyway, the main thing that we tried to discuss, that we tried to cover in this whole workshop was the modeling process, was creating the families that we actually need. For example, the light sources. And even more importantly, creating the materials that we needed. And if you have done everything completely correctly, you can create very beautiful and high quality renders, and you can present your work, your model in the best way possible. At the end, guys, I sincerely hope that you would become completely predominant in this whole field. You become a known figure in this whole field so that you would work on a variety of projects without any problems. Alright guys, hope you have enjoyed our workshop, and also I hope that we'll meet again someday. Until then, good luck.